Hey everyone, welcome to Techweek TV, brought to you by Callaghan Innovation. We're delighted to have you joining us this morning. In this session, we're going to be exploring how digital devices can enhance the lives of those living in residential aged care. And joining us for this panel is Wendy Rapson, Senior Research Fellow at AUT, and Karina Willis, who's the Customer Insights Lead at Chorus. Hi ladies, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Morning.
Thank you for being here today. Okay, so how is technology impacting the lives of older people? Who wants to start?
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Well, one of the impacts that it's having on older people is that digital technologies are helping people keep socially connected. Mm-hmm. And it's really important that older people do have social interactions and that they do keep up those social relationships. And we know that older people are catching up with younger age groups in terms of internet use, digital device use, but we don't know much about what's happening in aged care. And people in aged care are often an invisible population because they're often not included in reports and surveys. So with the help funding from Internet New Zealand, we've been exploring digital device use in aged care. And what we found in our study was that residents, or almost half of our residents, owned a digital device, which they mainly used for text messages, voice calls, and also emails. Some of them did use social media for example, following what the family were doing and following what their grandchildren were doing.
Oh, Karina.
I mean, this group is a fascinating group, right? So they're often seen as a real sort of traditionalist group, sort of shunning technology, but I think it's a bit of a misnomer. I think like all sort of age demographics, there are some that really embrace technology and then, they're willing to learn and take part in it, and then there are some that are sort of more hesitant. They prefer that sort of familiarity in their life. I don't necessarily think it's related to age because we see this sort of, all throughout people's lives. I think it's more about mindset and personality. So as Wendy said, there are some that are really embracing technology and using Facebook and getting involved, but there still is a lot of apprehension around using it.
What are the biggest challenges to older people using technology today?
Well, one of the challenges is that older people do have physical issues sometimes. Mm-hmm. So that they may have arthritis or impaired vision, and some of the devices today aren't necessarily suitable for older people because really for an older person, sometimes just having a very simple device that's got large keys that they can easily see and which they can easily press is much more useful than having a very complicated device where they've got lots of functions but they actually don't need them or even want them. Another thing that we found, and that affects people whether in the community or in aged care, but in aged care particularly, we found that aged care facilities often didn't provide Wi-Fi access for residents. The resident had to organise that themselves, and we found that family members often fulfilled that role. They actually played a really important role in supporting technology use by residents. They often bought the device for the resident. If they didn't own one when they went in the facility, they might help set it up, and they would also provide technical support if the user had any problems. So family members are really, really important, certainly from our experience. And also the other thing that we found in aged care was that aged care facilities often didn't provide a computer in a common area for residents to use. So if they didn't have their own device, then they could digitally be excluded from the online community. And again, so that's a real issue for making sure that they do have access to digital technologies.
Do you think these sorts of things should be supplied by these care facilities, like in a bit of a package, just to make it really simple, really easy, and maybe like a kind of, I'm going to stereotype here, but like bingo / like technology workshop that's like, like manageable for them?
I do think that aged care facilities can certainly play a bigger role in providing access to technology, not only in providing the hardware, but also focusing more of their activities around technology use, so that residents become comfortable using technology and that they feel that they're actually being part of the, that sort of world which they sometimes feel quite divorced from.
It's almost like, how Facebook did that kind of, when you sign up ages ago, you needed to invite 7 friends, and as long as you got 7 friends, then you would use the platform. I don't know if Facebook is the platform, but do you almost think that when they kind of join or go to this facility, that everyone who's in the facility should become like Facebook friends or something? So then they get like a bit of a community and camaraderie, and then they get to know each other in a digital format as well as a kind of in-person format.
I think that would be a great idea, and I think also there could be a lot of sharing of expertise, because there are some residents who are very technology proficient and they know lots about digital devices, but some residents are much newer, and so I think sharing that experience would not only be beneficial from the point of view of learning skills, but those additional social interactions for the resident to have, which I think would be fantastic.
Awesome. Karina, how can the technology industry play a part in improving the lives of older people?
Well, I think it's really important, and at Chorus we're particularly passionate about making sure that everyone's got the same opportunities to access digital and become really confident and connected with technology. So I think for me the key thing that we need to do, as well as getting devices in people's hands, is that ongoing support and education. It's very easy just to give someone a device and walk away, but they're not like my children. My children are growing up as digital natives, so digital and technology is part of sort of every day of their life. A lot of these people that are in these type of care facilities may not have had any, outside touch before they've actually suddenly, at the age of sort of 70, gone, oh, okay, what is this? So it's that ongoing piece. So at Chorus, we're really focused on making sure no one gets left behind. And so as part of Techweek, a couple of days ago, we actually had some tech and teas, and so we worked in partnership with SeniorNet. And again, it's getting people to come along, and we were talking about voice-assisted devices and how they can make life easier. So again, as Wendy was saying, they do find it quite hard, and devices are quite small, and even if you make the font massive, like my dad has on his.
It's also really
huge.
Heavy, like our wrists are used to this now.
Yeah, and so having voice-assisted devices in home, like Google Home and Alexa and stuff like that, they are making life a lot easier to interact with technology. So some of these really cool advancements, I think, are really helping, and if we can help educate, I think that's going to really make sure that no one does get left behind.
I work with a few startups in the voice technology space, and I'm quite fascinated in that, when it's like, would it be more meaningful for an older person to just be able to talk normally like they have, using their proper English, which is better than mine, and yeah, just talk to it as they normally would. That seems like much more, less of a jump than like trying to be all on this kind of thing. Okay, so what is the most impactful aged care technology you've seen in development today?
Well, I think certainly, as Corinne's mentioned, voice activation software is really starting to make inroads, and I think not many of our sample actually used it because they weren't yet quite comfortable with that means of operating a device. But I think that is coming along and will soon be much more used. But one of the things that is happening in aged care is that in the new build facilities, the tablet computers are being installed, which become the hub of the residents' life. So all their healthcare records get entered on the tablet, their likes and dislikes, so that when the care worker comes along, they know how they like their cup of tea. And they can also use, on some systems, they can use them to make phone calls, make video calls. So they can keep in touch with family and friends. So I think that technology is going to be fantastic, because it's a central point for them to, interact with technology.
I don't know too much about aged care innovation, unfortunately, but it's pretty exciting. I just think that the foundation and the sort of the infrastructure that we're creating right now is going to lead the way to so many opportunities. The way technology has evolved in the last 5 years, I don't think you can even think about what's going to happen in sort of the next 5 years. So a lot of automation, a lot of voice activation, a lot of more intuitive systems, I think, is really going to help out.
I want to just have a look at, there's lots of conversations going around in New Zealand and in the world, how much of a missed opportunity this demographic is. They're sort of overlooked as a consumer for the most part. And I actually am working with a startup at the moment where they're trying to solve loneliness for over 55-year-olds. And they do this by connecting them in groups and having events. They have like micro gaming on a website platform for them, all of these quite cool things, and then they go on these like trips. And I was kind of saying to them, well, I'm not sure if it's just 55-year-olds and over that are lonely. I think everyone is. But can you talk to me a little bit about things you think that we should maybe focus on and stop overlooking this demographic?
Did you want to address
Sure.
that?
So, yeah, like you said, I think this demographic has got a lot to give in terms of society. So, loneliness is a key, and I think there is still that fear from a lot of these people that technology replaces connection. And I think it's that understanding that actually, when we've talked to lots of people, they talk about, my grandchild comes around and all they're looking at is their device looking down, and it's, they're losing that connection part. So I think it's really helping them understand how it can add to their lives. So, you can do it. So you can have that little walking group and we're going to meet down in 5 minutes, that kind of thing. So how it can embrace rather than going around and knocking on doors. So I think it's probably just changing that conversation in terms of the internet or devices are all about entertainment, which is what currently it tends to be a bit of a focus on right now, YouTube, God help me and my child. But changing that conversation in terms of how it can actually help with everyday life and foster those social connections, because I think you're absolutely right, there's a lot of really lonely people out there, and technology can make it worse or make it better. So we've really got to try and focus on making it better.
Do you have thoughts on this?
Certainly, with our sample of people that we had in our study, just having that extra connection with their family was really important to them. It also became very clear to us in our study that having digital technologies didn't mean that personal visits were affected, that family members still considered personal visits to be the gold standard for interacting with their older member, but digital technologies just enabled additional interactions to occur, and also to occur with family members that were overseas. I think technology is having a fantastic positive benefit for older people.
I have a cool one, and sort of wrapping up, where it's a startup in the Kiwi landing pad community, and what they've done is they realised that it's great to have Facebook and all of those things, but they wanted more of a family network. And one of the biggest problems with families is actually photo sharing and gifting. And so what they did is they created this network, which is a family network, and then you got to invite your members. So you might have a kid, and then the parents, and then you might have like aunties, uncles, and then grandparents. And the entire thing is it's a group. You share all of your photos, and then kids can actually have a wish list for like Christmas presents, and then they get gifting. And that has been an amazing link for grandparents to be able to stay connected to the ridiculous amount of photos that we take of our children.
And it's a really safe environment, I think, too, because a lot of people are scared about privacy and sharing. And so, I've heard of that too, and it's a fantastic thing.
So the name of that startup is Kin to Kin. Really good, you should check it out. And that's all we have time for today. So thanks so much for joining us. And you guys, thanks so much for watching Techweek TV. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you a bit later.